Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig Sports. This is the USFL DFS week number 10 video. So in this video, I'll be going over some week 9 recap, going through all the notes. Some of the snap counts I do have. Unfortunately, two of the games, the game that was in Birmingham, I believe, that had the 3-hour-long rain delay, since it's swapped over between different networks, was not able to get a replay of that game, and then one of the other games too as well. So I only have half the games at this point in time. In terms of snap counts, that is up on my Patreon page as well under the DFS stats. We'll have everything posted from here up there today, as well as the updates that we do get throughout the rest of the day as we head into the slate tomorrow. But if you haven't been here before, this is typically what I'll do. I'll go through that recap, which has some snap counts for the games I was able to do so. Percentage of pass attempts, percentage of carries, target share, all that good stuff. You can take that and go over to runthesims.com if you have an account over there. If not, you save 10% off, and probably not worth it at this point in time, since there's only, the last week plus the playoffs left. But if you're looking to do that, you're looking to get a DIY simulator and throw in some of those numbers and do it all yourself. Makes some sense. Otherwise, if you have any questions, feel free just to reach out to me at this point in time. More than happy to help you, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport. But without further ado, we'll get started with that recap of week number 9. So, like I said, the Birmingham Stallions is not one of the teams that I do have snap counts for, since that game did have like the 3-hour-long rain delay and then ended up on multiple networks. So, Alex Magoo had 100% of the pass attempts, 21 in total, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 41% of carries, 9 in total, and he did have a rushing touchdown as well. So, a 3-touchdown game for Alex Magoo. He's been one of the best quarterbacks throughout the USFL so far this season. In terms of running the ball, CJ Maribel, 55% of the carries, 12 in total. He had 1 touchdown. And then he had a 16% target share with 3 targets. Ricky Person Jr. behind him, 1 carry for 5% carry share and no targets out of the backfield. So CJ Maribel pretty safe in that backfield once again. Zaquandre White was inactive once again for week number 9. Looks like he will still be inactive for week number 10. Davion Davis, 21% of target share. 4 targets, in total. Deion Kane had 11% target share, 2 targets, and 1 touchdown. So he's been a little bit more involved in the past couple of weeks. So definitely somebody to consider as we move forward. Adrian Hardy, only 1 target for a 5% target share. Him and Myron Mitchell both had 1 target, so they both had a 5% target share. Adrian Hardy is going to be inactive this week, so make sure you're not playing him, first of all. And then Michael Darius, 0% target share on 0 targets. Austin Watkins and Josh Johnson were both inactive for week number 9, but Austin Watkins will be active week number 10. So we'll see if he has a decent sized role in this offense or not. Kind of hard to tell since he's been inactive for a couple of weeks at this point in time. Birmingham is like one of the few teams that's not really playing for anything this week. So some of the lower guys in the pecking order might get a little bit more additional run in this game. And then as we're talking down, Jay Sternberger, 37% target share. He has 7 targets and 1 receiving touchdown. He's got receiving touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. Been very involved once again. And then Thaddeus Moss, 0 targets for 0% target share. And LaMichael Petaway had 1 target for a 5% target share. So that's kind of Birmingham in a nutshell. Like I said, it'd be really interesting to see how they approach this game this week. Maybe take a little bit more caution with them just overall. Moving down to the Houston Gamblers, Kenji Bahar had 79% of the pass attempts, 27 in total, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 5 carries for a 17% carry share. And then Montel Cozart, 21% of pass attempts, 7 in total, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He had 1 carry for a 3% carry share. They kind of split it up a little bit there, but this game was out of hand, so I think they just threw Cozart in towards the end either way. And like I said, since I didn't get these snap counts, was not able to watch the replay of that game. That's kind of my guesstimate, but just kind of assuming that at this point in time. Then a running back, Mark Thompson, 59% of carries, 17 in total, 4 targets for a 12.5% target share. And then Aaron Shamklin behind him, 5 carries on the ground for a 17% carry share and 0 targets out of the backfield. So Mark Thompson still like the running back to own in Houston once again. In terms of the wide receivers, Justin Hall had a 28% target share with 9 total targets. He's kind of been their consistent force all year. Isaiah Zuber's kind of stepped up a little bit as well. And then we had Chike Kism, 9% target share with 3 targets. Taylor Redding had 6% target share with 2 targets. Tyler Pelka had 1 target for a 3% target share. So those are kind of just like the extra pieces. We're not too interested in them just in general. Isaiah Zuber, 12.5% target share on 4 targets. He did have 1 carry for a 3% carry share as well. So mainly for their team, it's Justin Hall and Isaiah Zuber, the two main wide receivers, and then kind of rotating some of those other guys around. And then at tight end, Josh Peterson had a 19% target share and 6 targets. So he's still kind of a viable option at this point in time. Pay down, dart throw if you want to go there. And then Clint Sig, 6% target share on 2 targets. Brandon Barnes did not have a single target, so he had a 0% target share. And then Rodale Rahman had 1 target for a 3% target share. So Houston's pretty simple in a nutshell. Mark Thompson's going to be pretty interesting. You know, those wide receivers, it's really Justin Hall and Isaiah Zuber. Once again, Josh Peterson's kind of around as the main pass catching tight end. So nothing too much has changed this week. For the Memphis Showboats, Cole Kelly took 100% of the pass attempts, 41 in total, 0 touchdowns, but had 3 interceptions, so not one of his best game by any means. He had 3 carries on the ground for an 18% carry share. Then in terms of the running backs, Kareth White, 18% of carries with 3 total carries, 1 target out of the backfield for a 2% target share. He is injured this week. He hurt his ankle and he will not be playing. So Ezra Gray will be active. So safe to assume Jawan Washington will take over a big chunk of the workload once again, like the last time that Kareth White was out. And in week 9, Jawan Washington, 65% of carries, 11 in total, 6 targets out of the backfield for a 15% target share. So probably one of the safer, better plays at running back this week. He's a little bit smaller guy, but we even saw in the game that he had kind of the workload to himself, get 20 carries. He's been involved out of the backfield before as a capable pass catching back. So somebody that's going to be pretty interesting for this offense. We'll see how the game script all goes and like that. But either way, he's kind of game script proof because if they're winning, he's probably getting some carries. And if they're losing, he's probably getting some pass catching work as well. In terms of the wide receivers, Derek Dillon, 17% target share on 7 targets. Ryan McDaniel had 4 targets for a 10% target share. Vinny Papali, 9 targets for a 22% target share. DJ Myers was inactive once again. Osiris Mitchell, 3 targets for a 7% target share. So mainly the 2 pass catchers that you're looking at from the wide receiver position still going to be Derek Dillon and Vinny Papali. And then their tight ends, John Mitchell didn't have a single target. Daniel Helm had 6 targets for a 15% target share. JJ Wilson had 5 targets for a 12% target share. And Cheyenne O'Grady did not have a single target. So if you're going after one of those 2 tight ends, it's going to be JJ Wilson or Daniel Helm. Still a little bit limited upsize wide unless they're scoring in a touchdown in any given game. Moving down to the Michigan Panthers, this is the very first team that we do have the snap count information for. So we had Josh Love at quarterback, played 100% of snaps, 100% of pass attempts, 33 in total. He had 1 touchdown, but he threw 4 interceptions. About half of them weren't his fault. There was a couple that were tipped too, so that is something to note. But looks like he still has the job on lockdown even after throwing 4 picks, so not too worried there. Should be an interesting GPP play once again. And he had 3 carries on the ground for a 20% carry share. Reggie Corbin was inactive for week number 9. We don't have a health status update on him at this point in time. Should have that by the end of the night. So we'll try to post that on this YouTube video and up on the sheet that I do have that we'll be going over later in terms of the plays and everything else like that, which will be updated throughout the day, throughout the night, and throughout the morning over on Patreon as well. But Corbin's an interesting piece there. Stevie Scott played 40% of the snaps, had 60% of the carries with 9 in total, but was not involved out of the backfield. Tua behind him, the former Nevada running back, did not get into the game at all. So it was really Stevie Scott and AJ Richardson, a wide receiver, playing running back in this game. Richardson had 60% of snaps. He had 7 targets for a 22% target share and 3 carries for a 20% carry share. So he could be an interesting pay down option this week if Reggie Corbin is to miss once again. At the actual wide receiver position, Joe Walker played 100% of snaps, 12.5% target share on 4 targets. Kind of draped a little bit by Mark Gilbert. I was about ready to say Marcus Gilbert there, but for Pittsburgh, they did a good job of containing Joe Walker. Trey Quinn, 89% of snaps, 16% target share on 5 targets. And then behind those two, we had Marcus Sims, play 33% of snaps, 0% target share with 0 targets. Caden Davis had 38% of snaps and a 12.5% target share. Those two kind of moving back and forth as that wide receiver 3. You know, a lot of no huddle, quick offense, spreading it out and everything else, especially in like 2-minute style offense and everything, especially since they were down quite a bit in this game. For the tight end position, Cole Hinkatini had 65% of snaps, 22% target share with 7 targets and 1 touchdown. Still kind of a viable option if you want to go there as a cheap guy, dart throw, anything else like that. Marcus Ball, 60% of snaps, 12.5% target share on 4 targets. And then Josh Babbitt's, the third tight end, had 15% of snaps, 3% target share on 1 target. And Kyle Markaway was inactive once again for week number 9. So nothing too crazy here for Michigan. A lot of it is just going to really depend on if Reggie Corbin plays or not. Top 2 wide receivers have been top 2 wide receivers for quite some time. But that's pretty much what we got from Michigan. Moving down to the New Jersey Generals, another team that we have snap count data for, is DeAndre Johnson played 100% of the snaps. He had 91% of the pass attempts. Darius Victor and Chemicals Looper both had 1 pass attempt in total. But there was 20 total pass attempts for DeAndre Johnson. Did not have a passing touchdown or an interception in this game. 25% of the carries was 7 in total. And he had 1 target in this game. So the reverse pass from Cam Echols Looper ended up going to DeAndre Johnson for about 14 or 15-yard gain. So they took advantage of his versatility as an athlete there, but probably not going to expect that too often otherwise. This game, they actually had all three running backs active, which I don't think we should take too much away from because we already know that Trey Williams is going to be inactive this week. But Darius Victor's 61% of snaps, 39% of carries with 11 in total, 2 rushing touchdowns, 14% target share with 4 targets. And then he did have that 1 pass attempt for a touchdown where they pitched the ball out to him. He's about ready to get tackled, and then he threw the ball to Brandon Bowman for a touchdown. So that was kind of cool to see, but definitely has some pretty good upside in Darius Victor this week, especially with no Trey Williams. It's just going to be Darius Victor and Kingston Davis. And the last time we saw that, very much favored Darius Victor. Then Trey Williams played 22% of snaps, 21% of carries, 6 in total. He had 1 rushing touchdown, did not have a single target out of the backfield, though. Kingston Davis played 14% of snaps, 14% of carries with 4 in total, and no targets out of the backfield as well. Like I said, Darius Victor is going to be the big guy on campus once again this week, maybe even a cash game play, which we'll get to in a little bit. From their wide receiver room, Daryl Stewart, 98% of snaps. He had 3 targets in total, 14% target share. He did catch 2 very long passes, which ended up really propelling him into a decent fantasy performance or DFS performance as well. So that is something to note. He's out there a lot, but still not the most talented guy in the world. And then Alonzo Moore, probably their best wide receiver, played 82% of snaps, 9% target share on 2 targets. He did get a little bit banged up at one point in time in this game, though, but looks like he should be good to go this week. Cam Echols Looper, 33% of snaps. He had a 18% target share, 4 targets. He did have 1 kick return touchdown too to start off the game, so that gave him a decent fantasy and DFS score. And then he did have that 1 pass to DeAndre Johnson on the trick play. Marcus Green played 20% of snaps, didn't see a single target, and then Warren Newman played 22% of snaps and did not have a single target as well. So both of them kind of just operate in that wide receiver 4 kind of role, depending on who was out there and what all needed to be done. Warren Newman's out there more on like trick plays or where he was kind of lining up as a running back and then they put him out wide. Marcus Green was kind of more in there when, Alonzo Moore and Daryl Stewart were on the field. And then Arthur Jackson was inactive for week 9 once again. Brandon Bowman, 63% of snaps, 23% target share. He had 5 targets in total, 1 touchdown. Not a lot of yardage, though, so probably can't really play him without that yardage. But he does draw a decent amount of targets most games. Really just need a touchdown out of him to propel him further. And then Woody Branham and Wes Saxton both saw 2 targets for 9% target share. Branham played a 57% of snaps. Wes Saxton played 27% of snaps. So rotating those tight ends once again. Brandon's more of a blocking tight end. Saxton's more of a little bit of a blocking guy, but still a little bit of athletic profile there. And then Bowman's the guy that they use when in passing situations, more or less. So can't really take too much away from New Jersey. The top 2 wide receivers have been the top 2 wide receivers for 2 weeks now. Darius Victor is going to be a decent play. DeAndre Johnson is going to look pretty good as the full-time starter once again. Moving down to the Breakers, weird game for them because they got off to such a big lead. They had, I believe, at least 1 defensive touchdown in this game too. A lot of turnovers, so it was a really good game for them overall. Especially for a pass-happy team, it's just a weird script because McLeod Bethel Thompson, 100% of the pass attempts, only had 16 in total, but he had 1 touchdown, 4 carries on the ground for 11% carry share. Assume probably a couple of those were kneel downs though as well. This was one of the other games that we don't have the replay for, so I wasn't able to do the snap counts for. Then in terms of running backs, we saw Wes Hills get 51% of the carries, 18 in total, 1 rushing touchdown, 2 targets out of the backfield for a 12.5% target share. Anthony Jones the other like running back that they've used mainly this year, didn't have a single carry, but he had 2 targets out of the backfield for 12.5% carry share. And then we had Cyrus Habibi-Likio actually play on offense, which he hasn't done yet this year, but 34% of carries. He had 12 in total. I believe a lot of this just was because the game was out of hand, but if you really, really want to take a stab there, probably wouldn't recommend it, but it is there. In terms of their wide receiver, Johnny Dixon, 19% target share, only had 3 targets, which, they didn't throw the ball too much in this game either way. Jonathan Adams, 19% target share, 3 targets, the 1 touchdown. Lee Morris had 25% target share on 4 targets. D. Anderson, 1 target, 46% target share. So can't really take too much away from this game, especially since it is a pass happy team, but they ran the ball a little bit more than they typically would on any other slate. So top 2 wide receivers remain the same, and Dixon and Adams. Lee Morris probably the third still once again. And then D. Anderson mixing in a little bit. Eli Stovin kind of gadget role. He did have 1 rushing touchdown on that 3% carry share, but did not have a single target. And then for the tight end, Sage Surratt only had 1 target for a 6% target share. He's been very involved with them all year. If you still want to take a chance on him in week 10, definitely makes some sense. And then EJ Bibbs, the other tight end, was just used as a blocker, 0 targets in this game once again. Moving down to the Maulers, Troy Williams played 100% of pass, or he had 100%. Yeah, I can't even talk right now. He had 100% of snaps, 100% of pass attempts, 24 in total, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, 5 carries on the ground for a 16% carry share. So still a very viable option. And they just had the 2 running backs this week in Garrett Groshek and Madre London. Dwayne Gary was inactive for week number 9. Groshek played 44% of snaps, 31% of carries with 10 in total, 1 target out of the backfield for a 4% target share. And then Madre London played 37% of snaps, 38% of the carries in this game, 12 in total, did not have a single target though. They used a lot of like 4 and 5 wide receiver sets, really spreading the ball out though, at least early in the game. So you'll see between London and Groshek, they only add up to have, what is it, like an 81% of snap share between the 2 of them, because they were really spreading it out, empty sets, a lot of that, at least early on in the game. Then Mason Stokey, tight end fullback, 60% of snaps, no carries, 9% target share with 2 targets. Bailey Gaither was inactive for week number 9. He's already been moved over to the active list for week number 10, so he should be good to go this week. Trey Walker, who's been kind of a healthy scratch for a while, played 65% of snaps, 17% target share with 4 targets. He had 1 carry on the ground for a 3% carry share as well. Really played a lot more in the second half. Didn't really play too much in the first half. Really operated as that wide receiver 4 in the first half, but in the second half, he operated more as kind of the wide receiver 2 or 3. Then Isaiah Heaney, 78% of snaps, 26% target share with 6 targets, 2 carries on the ground for a 6% carry share. He probably would be a little bit more interesting this week with Gaither missing, but with him back, and Trey Walker active, it's really interesting to see how that all plays out. CJ Turner only played 13% of snaps, 1 target for a 4% target share. He will be inactive for week number 10. Josh Simmons, 57% of snaps, 9% target share with 2 targets. He did have 1 touchdown. He had a long kickoff return in the beginning of the game, then scored a touchdown on that very first drive as well. So was off to a pretty good start, was playing a lot of snaps in the first half, but he was kind of the guy that really suffered in the second half when Trey Walker was out there more. Ismail Hyman played 83% of snaps, 22% target share with 5 targets, and then he did have 1 carry as well. So he is somebody to kind of watch out for as being a cheap option at this point in time. Really interesting to see how they play with these 5 wide receivers in terms of snap counts with Gaither back this week, though. Artavius Lynn was active this week. He played 51% of snaps, 9% target share on 2 targets. Mainly used as a blocker, but he still has a little bit of athleticism where they could use him as a receiver. Matt Seibert, 13% of snaps, 0% target share. Really didn't play much down the stretch. Seemed like he was kind of bothered by some type of injury. I know the report that they put out yesterday, I believe it was either hamstring or an ankle, but he is listed for as probable for week number 10. So Pittsburgh's going to be a big wild card team this week, I do believe. So that's kind of where you can get some of your leverage just in general. And then we're going to move down to the Philadelphia Stars. Case Cookus, 100% of snaps, 100% of pass attempts, 39 in total, 3 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 7 carries on the ground for a 33% carry share. And then from the running back position, like I said last week, Dexter Williams has been kind of the running back 2 behind Colburn pretty much all season. Holland was involved last year, but he was injured for a while. Then he was inactive, so it was kind of interesting to see what type of split there would be. Well, at this point in time, there really wasn't much of a split. Dexter Williams played 89% of snaps, 43% of carries with 9 in total, 6 targets out of the backfield for a 17% target share. And then behind him, we had Darnell Holland played 11% of snaps, 24% of carries, 5 in total, and a 0% target share. Holland was actually cut this week. They signed Paul Terry, who was with the team last year. He is on the inactive list at this point in time, but we'll see how that all shakes out, whether Terry will be the active one as the second running back this week, or whether it will be Williams, who they signed out of, I believe, Georgia State last week. So that'll be really interesting to see. With most guys signing this late, typically wouldn't expect him to be active, but Paul Terry was with the team last year and knows the offense, so wouldn't be surprised if he is the running back too. But Dexter Williams still going to be a strong play either way. From the wide receiver position, Devin Gray played 100% of snaps, 11% target share with 4 targets. Corey Coleman, 99% of the snaps. He did take 1 snap off in this most recent game. Was going to take another one, but then they had to call a timeout. So they all got up to 99% of snaps, 31% target share, 11 targets in total, 1 receiving touchdown. DeAndre Overton operating as the wide receiver 3 once again, 83% of snaps, 23% target share with 9 targets and 1 receiving touchdown. And then getting down to the other pieces, Samuel Akeem only played a couple snaps, 7% of snaps, 3% target share. Kedrick Wheatfall wasn't active for week number 9. Terry Wright probably has highest snap game of the season with 66% of snaps, 9% target share, 3 targets, 1 receiving touchdown. But he did play a lot because they were down. They were going like a lot of no huddle for wide receiver sets throughout a good portion of this game. So that definitely benefited him quite a bit. Then we had Cyril Grayson make his debut for the team, 15% of snaps, 3% target share with 1 target in total. A speedster, former LSU track star, more than a football player. So it'd be interesting to see if they try to get him a little bit more involved in week number 10, probably maybe a little bit involved in the playoffs as well, but hasn't been with the team for very long at this point in time. And then the 2 tight ends, Pro Wells, 17% of snaps, 0 targets. And then Ryan Izzo, 13% of snaps. He had 1 target for a 3% target share. And then Lawrence Delabetta was inactive for week number 9. He has since been cut this week. So not too worried about their tight ends at this point in time. So that's kind of a recap from week number 9. I'm going to pull up my sheet for week 10. We're kind of go through every player, or at least the notable ones for each team, whether I would consider them a GPP option, a cash game option, a pay down option, a contrarian option, everything else like that. If you guys have any specific questions, feel free to leave them in the live chat if you're listening live, or down in the comments, and I'd be more than happy to help you and get back to you as quickly as possible. But like I said, with this sheet, I will be updating it, kind of throughout the day, throughout the night, especially as we get more news. I will post up the inactives as best as possible then in the comments prior to the actual start of the games, respectively, as well. But we start off with the Birmingham Stallions. Alex Magoo is $13,200. I have him listed as a GPP play. He could be a cash game play, but like I mentioned earlier, Birmingham doesn't really have much to play for in this game, so would not be surprised, if he goes out, he plays a couple drives, and then they bring in Jalen Morton, or like he plays a half, and then they bring in Morton or something like that. So would not be shocked if that's the case. So maybe a little bit less of him and some of these other Birmingham guys. But CJ Maribel, $9,300 GPP option. If he plays the whole game, he's going to be pretty interesting. If he doesn't, then kind of all bets are off. Like I said, Adrian Hardy is inactive this week. Austin Watkins will be active for week 10. Not sure what type of role he will have, but he was used as a pretty decent deep threat down the field, at least early on in the season. Davion Davis, Deion Kane, Jace Sternberg, if you want to use them as GPP options, definitely does make some sense. Biggest question mark with Birmingham is just how much are they going to play their starters and their main pieces in this game overall. Stallions defense, I think, is a pretty good GPP. Obviously, Memphis did struggle quite a bit versus that Breakers defense last week. So if Birmingham can create some turnovers, could be a pretty strong play there. $4,400, decent price tag as well. Don't really have them down as the cash game option at this point, just because maybe they rest some guys on defense as well. So that's kind of the biggest question mark, but still a pretty strong play regardless. For the gamblers, if you really want to play Kenji Bahar, it's kind of like a contrarian option. I definitely understand it, but it's not really something that I'm going out of my way to do personally. But $8,100, pretty cheap option at quarterback. Mark Thompson, $13,000. Have him listed as GPP. He's, cash game play too. If you want to go that direction, probably go with more Jawan Washington and cash this week, just because $4,700, I believe he's at, is pretty cheap. First of all, allows you pay up at other positions where you can probably get some more elite production. But, Mark Thompson is still a very strong touchdown machine in his own right. Shampklin, we're not touching. Let's see. For the wide receiver position, the main guy I would be interested in would be Isaiah Zuber at $3,000 as a pay down option, or, a cash game filler. If you want to roll out like Justin Hall, you can do that. If you want to use Josh Peterson as kind of a pay down option, you could do that as well. And then for their defense, they're going against New Orleans this week. New Orleans has to win this game to get in. So, not the team that I really want to play the defense against at this point in time, even though Houston has a decent defense. So they're more of a contrarian play. For let's see where we're at. So for the Memphis Showboats, not really too interesting. Cole Kelly this week. It's been a rough couple of weeks for him. There could be some passing volume, some upside to be there, especially with Jawan Washington in the backfield. I think they get down in this game, so there's a chance that he could put up some stuff. $9,000, just a little bit more than I'd like to pay for him, but more of a contrarian play. Bigger field GPP if you want to go that direction. Like I said, Jawan Washington, $4,700 pay down option here. I'm probably just going to move him over to cash game now that we know that Kareth White is inactive. Ezra Gray will be active for week 10, but when we saw this situation earlier this year, it was Washington that got the massive volume. So as long as he doesn't get hurt, probably going to be a cash game play in general. Like I said before, the two wide receivers, Derek Dell and Vinny Papali, you can play both of them once again this week as GPP options. A little bit limited upside. You're hoping they score touchdowns, which Cole Kelly really hasn't thrown a touchdown, I believe, in 2 weeks now. So might be a little bit limiting there in that sense. Not really too interested in their defense, even though there is if Birmingham does rest some guys, there is potential for the Showboats defense to pay off, and they've paid off at times this year. So more of a contrarian defense just in general. But probably going to draw a decent amount of ownership since they've been higher scoring as of late. For the Panthers, Josh Love still a GPP option at $8,400. You could maybe roll him out in cash if you really want to. I just think DeAndre Johnson's a better option this week, so not really getting there myself personally. Like I said, with the running back situation, really need to monitor that injury status on Reggie Corbin. If you want to take a chance on Stevie Scott scoring some touchdowns at $5,300, could make a little bit of sense. Maybe a little bit of leverage off of that Dexter Williams play, but more of a GPP contrarian option this week. If Reggie Corbin is out, AJ Richardson at $3,800 is going to be a very interesting GPP paydown option. Maybe even a cash game filler if you really want to go to that direction. Both wide receivers are very much in play once again. And Joe Walker at $8,700, Trey Quinn at $7,600. A GPP, you could probably squeeze one into cash if you really want to do so as well. Just depends on the nature of your build. Like I said, with Hikatini, he's $3,000. If you think he scores a touchdown, get some decent target volume once again this week, you'd use him as a pay down option. Kind of a dart throw, though. Their defense against Philadelphia, I think their GPP contrarian option just in general. Philadelphia can create some turnovers at times. And, Michigan's defense, albeit, they've had their struggles at times this year, they've had other times where they look really good. And they were still able to create pressure last week. So let's see. John over here is saying Ezra Gray listed as the starter. So I assume it's Jawan Washington that's going to get the lion's share once again. These depth charts with these spring leagues can be a little bit tricky at times. If you believe he's the starter, he's worth a consideration as a pay down option. I assume more people are going to flock to Washington just in general. But, if you want to get to some Gray, he's cheap enough to where he's not really going to kill you overall. Probably would be more of the GPP variety. I wouldn't play him in cash just because we don't really know fully that situation. But Jawan Washington did get the lion's share the last time. So that's kind of where I would be with it. And I think Washington would represent more of the pass catching back once again, although both guys have the potential to do it. Let's see where we're at now. So I was talking about the Panthers defense a little bit. We get down to the generals. DeAndre Jansen is the cash quarterback this week. That rushing upside definitely does help propel him. Obviously, you hope that he scores some touchdowns because he didn't really do that last week. But with Darius Victor snatching up a good chunk of them, it was a little bit more difficult for him. Darius Victor, $8,100, strong GPP option, maybe even a cash game option. Maybe if I'm playing him a cash game, it's a little bit trickier playing him and DeAndre Johnson together. because only one of them can score the touchdown. But there is a road that to make that possible as well. Kingston Davis, I'm not really getting there at $4,000 even. Trey Williams inactive. I think it's going to be a lot of Darius Victor once again, like we saw 2 weeks ago. Let's see. Alonzo Moore, still that GPP option at wide receiver, was not the greatest week for him last week, though. Unfortunately, Daryl Stewart, if you think they get a couple long shot completions to him once again, could be an interesting pay down option at $3,700. But I expect his ownership to be, decently high since he is pretty cheap at this point in time. If you really want to take a shot on Brandon Bowman at tight end, you could do it, but the volume is there, just not the yardage, and you're hoping he scores a touchdown. The Generals' defense against Pittsburgh, if they can stop the pass a little bit, they gain some pressure on Troy Williams, could be an interesting kind of GPP or contrarian play in this matchup. Not the greatest defense in the world, but if they mix some looks and can create some pressure, it could be pretty interesting. Move down to the breakers. McCoy Bethel Thompson, $11,000. Still going to be a GPP option. I think he has some high end upside this week just because maybe people are a little bit more down on him after the 16 pass attempt performance. His price tag's definitely down a little bit. So there is some pretty good interest and leverage, some pretty good upside there. Once again, Wes Ellis at $12,900. His price tag's coming down. There's still going to be a lot of opportunities there for him in general. But, the 2 weeks that he did fumble, not last week, but prior 2 weeks before that, they did pull him for Anthony Jones in those situations for a drive after that. So a little bit of concern there, but nothing too crazy. Wide receivers, we're mainly looking at Giant Dixon, Jonathan Adams once again. If you want to go with Sage Surratt and GPP, you could do it as well. If you want to play like one of those guys in cash, you could probably make it work as well. Probably going to end up being Giant Dixon, though. I know last week I was saying that I like Jonathan Adams just because everybody else was kind of on Dixon, but that's kind of the way it is as well too. Obviously they didn't pass the ball quite a bit though. Their defense, I think they're a cash game option against Houston. Could be some upside there, especially if they're able to stop Mark Thompson in general. And then moving down to the Maulers, Troy Williams, interesting GPP option. If he can relegate against that New Jersey defense pretty well, spread the ball around and use a little bit of his legs, could be an interesting option. And obviously, we've seen some high-end upside out of him. $9,500, not a terrible price tag. The running back situation here, they got the two guys. They haven't run the ball too great this year. But the teams that have had some success against New Jersey have been able to run the ball. And that's kind of been their weakness. So if you can run the ball against New Jersey, you have a chance. But with these two guys, don't really inspire a lot of confidence. But if you're trying to look for a contrarian play this week, if you want to play Groshek or London, that could be a way to go about it. But there's a lot of risk that does come with it at the same time. For their wide receiver room, like I said, with the 5 guys that they're going to have active this week, Trey Walker, Bailey Gaither, Isaiah Heaney, Josh Simmons, and Ishmael Hyman. One of these guys has to be the odd guy out, first of all, to get down to 4. Probably going to spread it out a decent amount once again. I don't know if that's the best strategy against New Jersey because we saw that fail last week for Philadelphia. It worked at times, though. I'll give them that, but a lot of pressure on Case Cookis, and he got smacked around quite a bit. But, if you want to use Walker or Hyman or Simmons as kind of a pay down option, makes some sense. If you want to throw Bailey Gaither or Isaiah Heaney in as GPP options, you could do that as well. Mahler's defense, an interesting GPP option. Obviously, if you're not playing DeAndre Johnson at quarterback, could get a little bit of leverage in that spot. If you're not playing Johnson or Victor, gains a little bit of extra leverage as well. And then obviously, Maulers have been an excellent defense, time in and time out throughout the season. At quarterback for the Stars, Case Cookis is $9,800 at this point in time. Pretty reasonable price tag, pass happy offense. He's been better as of late. He's been taking a beating though. I feel bad for him just watching some of these last games with how many shots he takes, and he just gets up and acts like it's nothing. He's still running around pretty well. Offers a little bit of upside. The passing volume, definitely a strong GPP option. Maybe if you want to use somebody other than DeAndre Johnson and cash, maybe it's Case Cookis this week. That would be kind of interesting to see, though. Like I said, with the running back situation, Terry signed with the team this week. He was transferred to inactive immediately after that. We have not seen their active and inactive transfers over at this point in time. That will be coming out later tonight since I'm making this video on Friday morning. They did sign Williams last week. Jameis Williams, I believe that's how you pronounce that. He's $4,000, but I assume it's just mainly the Dexter Williams show this week. $6,400. Going to be a strong cash game play once again. And going to probably be one of the most popular ones too, I would assume. In terms of their wide receivers, Devin Gray, $8,200. You can throw him out in GPPs. Overtone at $5,200 GPP option. He's been drawing a decent amount of targets as of late, though. So definitely a guy that I would consider, especially if I'm playing Case Cookus in some of my stacks. Obviously, Corey Coleman's going to draw a lot of ownership, $9,500. Been one of the better wide receivers in the USFL as of late. Touchdown upside in back-to-back games. Seems like a cash game play at this point in time. Terry Wright, if you really want to you get shot at $3,600. You think they get down and they use a lot of 4 wide receiver sets. Could make some sense there, but they might also try to work in Cyril Grayson a little bit more as well. Tight ends, not really interested in. Like I said, they cut Lawrence Del Betta this week. And the Stars defense, a GPP option. I'm trying to remember who they're playing against because I forgot to write that one down. So let me see if I can search up Philadelphia real quick. So they were playing against the Michigan Panthers. So obviously, if you can get some pressure on Josh Love, if Reggie Corbin's not playing in that game, Stars defense can create turnovers, and that's when they've done well this year. Sometimes capitalizing on those turnovers in a big way. So that's kind of where I'm at for week number 9, for week number 10. But in terms of the week 9 recap, week 10, in terms of picks, if you guys have any other additional questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments and I'll reach out to you as quickly as possible. But with that being said, that's pretty much what I have at this point in time. I'm trying to keep this video pretty short and sweet. A lot of times I go a little bit higher and lower on guys, but trying to keep this pretty simple. Going to have a lot of DeAndre Johnson this week. Probably have a decent amount of Darius Victor, Juwan Washington, Dexter Williams, their running back. Still sneaking in some Mark Thompson, maybe a little bit less on Wes Hills. Like I said, going to get to some McCoy Bethel Thompson at quarterback as well. Maybe a little bit of Troy Williams here and there. Wide receiver, Isaiah Zuber is going to be a guy that pops up a lot for me at $3,000 just because he's so cheap. Trying to get some Johnny Dixon, trying to get to some Corey Coleman. Those are the big names at this point in time. Defense wise, trying to mix and match quite a bit. Anybody that is a GPP option or better for me are going to be defenses that I'm getting to this week overall. But with that being said, that's pretty much all that I do have at this point in time. If you're new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, you found this information informative, I would ask that you do subscribe to the channel. Definitely does mean a lot to me, trying to help each and every one of you guys, trying to help you guys, help this community grow at Coach Craig Sports, helping you guys with your DFS. Right now, it's mainly MLB DFS as well as USFL DFS. Hopefully, it's a good week for us in USFL. Obviously, the only team that we have some concerns with is Birmingham. So they could be one of those teams that really makes or breaks the slate, whether they play their starters a good amount or they kind of pull them early. But with that being said, that's really all that I do have. So definitely do appreciate everyone that did tune in, whether you're watching live or on replay. Definitely does mean a lot to me. Definitely appreciate the support. And with that being said, definitely hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in USFL DFS this weekend.